Hey everyone, we are back with another great episode of Liftoff with Jeanniey Walden. I am so excited to kick off this show with an Emmy, Grammy, and Golden Globe nominated actress. She's a producer, singer, and songwriter. Any guesses? Well, let me tell you, she knows about good stories. Welcome to Liftoff, the one and only Mandy Moore. Hi, Mandy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I am just in awe with you. You've had such a spanning career of music, movies, and of course, TV shows. What are your thoughts on work-life blend?
Oh my gosh. I feel like I've been so fortunate to have been in this industry for 20 plus years and having started as a young person. I think I always had the ability somehow to kind of turn it on and off. I mean, not that I'm one person on camera and off, but I feel like I was really afforded the opportunity to still be a young person as a teenager when I sort of started. But I recognized, like, oh, I put on that hat when I'm at work and then I can take it off as well. So, I think also as a performer, you bring your life experience with you, whether it's music or any other aspect of your career. But so I've been lucky to be able to do that and kind of use it as therapy. But I'm just so grateful to get to do what I love to do and still be sitting here, 20 plus years later. I'm really aging myself now, still having some semblance of a career and doing what I love.
And where do your loves lie in order of everything that you've done, singing, acting, and working behind the scenes? Is there one that you love more than the other?
I feel like they all feed each other. I feel really lucky that I get to sort of balance everything. And that I've always been able to have the opportunity to kind of do the acting, the singing, all of it sort of combined. But have to say my favorite thing is my family. It's the most important thing. I have two small kids, so like being a mom is number one. It's incredible, again, to sort of try to find that balance of doing it all, whatever that means nowadays. I know everybody has a different definition of that, but I think that's obviously the thing I'm most proud of in my life is my boys.
Absolutely, absolutely. But not only do you have kids, you also have a cat and you've partnered with Cat Chow. Why are cats so important to you?
Oh my gosh, we have three cats. So I grew up with cats. I am kind of the ultimate cat lady. Cats have been a staple and a touchstone in my life, my entire life. They were our first pet growing up, and they've just been in my life ever since. We have Fig, Peanut, and Olivia at home right now. They are my original OG children before my human children. And I feel like I spent so much time during COVID and these last 3 years sort of bonding with them and having this like unfettered time to just to be around them and soak up the time with them. It was really fantastic. And now to be able to obviously introduce them to my human children and see the bond that they've sort of established is so special, is so great. So, to me, in that sense, being the ultimate cat lover, it was a real no brainer to want to partner with Cat Chow to help them celebrate their 60th anniversary this year. And in order to celebrate this milestone, we're asking other cat lovers and cat owners out there to submit their stories about how cats have positively impacted their lives. Cat Chow is actually going to select 60 of these stories and compile them into a book, celebrating the profound impact that cats have on all of our lives. And all of the storytellers that are selected are going to receive a copy of the book, a year's supply of cat chow, and then one lucky storyteller also gets a $10,000 cash prize. So it's really a win-win across the board.
Mandy, thank you so much for joining us on Lift Up.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, everybody, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Welcome back. You are going to love our next guest. He has not only led a fascinating life as a former corporate spy, he's also an author with some very sage advice to help the rest of us avoid being duped, or as he likes to call it, rused. Author of Ruse, Lying the American Dream from Hollywood to Wall Street. Robert Kerbeck joins us now. Thanks for being on Liftoff, Robert.
Thanks for having me, Jeannie.
Okay, Ruse.
hmm
Lying the American Dream from Hollywood to Wall Street. First off, your family was in the car business. How in the world do you switch from the car business to becoming a corporate spy?
That's funny. Yeah, so the Kerbeck name is very well known in the New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Philadelphia area, and they've been in business since 1899. I was supposed to take over the family business, but car sales, the trickery of car sales didn't feel right to me. So I wanted to be an actor. I moved to New York. Actors need survival jobs, and who stumbles into a career as a corporate spy? But that's what happened to me.
So was it like Men in Black? You were alone at a bar and somebody tells you to come to this address that you don't know about?
You know, it was a woman had this small secretive firm that spied on Wall Street, and she only hired actors because she needed people that could do accents, create characters, voices, do impressions. And so I got hired, and at first I didn't even know really what the job entailed. And then as time went on, I began to see that we were extracting really valuable secrets from major corporations.
And I can only imagine, as you said, this is super valuable for competitive firms.
Yeah, right. I mean, we all know the Russians spy on the Chinese spy on us. But what most people are shocked to find out is that major corporations spend, forget about millions, forget about tens of millions, they spend hundreds of millions of dollars a year to spy on each other.
Wow. And sometimes some of these tactics and techniques are so brilliant that I often find myself thinking, I don't know if I'm smart enough to be a bad guy. Because you have to be really smart to be able to figure out how to make your way into these businesses. But for those of us who want to help businesses avoid being hacked, phished, duped, or what you call rused, what's your advice?
Well, you know, that's what I talk all the time about now with the book and on podcasts and shows like this is, you know, there are a couple of very simple things we can all do to protect ourselves. The first thing is spies, hackers, you know, phishers, scammers, they're always using time pressure to get you to do things that you shouldn't do. You know, you get that text, you get that email, you get that phone call, you must do this right now. Click on this right now. You've been hacked. You're a victim of fraud. You better do this. And you have to take, I would say, when we were kids, we had the 5-second rule. You know, if you drop the gum, you could put it back in your mouth. Okay, we're adults. We can handle a little bit more. 30 seconds. Don't click on anything for 30 seconds. When you get that strange text, email, phone call, don't do anything. Put the device down, walk away, because as soon as you take 30 seconds, all of a sudden you go, wait a second now, this isn't right. You know, you've given yourself that time because they're really trying to pressure you to do something quickly. And unfortunately, a lot of times once you've done it, it's too late.
True. So true. This has been super insightful, very interesting. I know you've got a book out. I can't wait to read it. Thank you so much for being on the show
Thanks
today.
for having me.
It's been fantastic. For those of you that are going to take your 30 seconds to process all of this, make sure you come back because we've got more great guests after the break.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. The same way you plan each detail for those moments. Start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
Welcome back. Trends show that investors are shifting their focus from price and profit to value and security. Here to tell us more is Liftoff asset trading contributor Jarrett Preston, author, CEO of Idoneous. Hi, Jarrett.
Hi, Jeannie. How are you?
Good. Great to have you back on the show.
Good to be here.
So tell us, what moves are you seeing investors take right now to show that they're hedging against inflation?
Well, they're thinking very differently, that's for sure. Right? The first thing they're doing is they're moving out of dormant assets that are not benefiting them, whether it's financial or personally, and they're moving into assets that give them exactly what they need in this little bit of a nervous time that we're in, whether that's cash flow or personal use and utility or just more security, right? So they're moving out of those assets that were tertiary and bringing everything back in to make sure that it's benefiting exactly where they need to be over the coming months, right?
And what are the three most secure asset classes right now?
That really depends on who you are, right? So if someone's earning $100,000 a year or $5 million a year, a very different situation. At $100,000 a year, I would say you're going to keep a small cash reserve as you're paying your bills, and maybe invest in some gold, invest in some silver, some small exposure to real estate. If you're making $5 million a year, this opens up many more opportunities, right? So these clients of ours are investing in fine art. They're investing in precious gemstones. They're investing in substantial gold reserves, and they're diversifying across many different commodities, as well as international currencies, stocks, bonds, international stocks and bonds as well, not just domestic.
And we've talked before about the worst thing you could do is not make a move and get stuck, and it's too late. What advice do you have for people out there who have been nervous, haven't moved into different asset classes, but really want to? Should they just pull the plug and do it regardless of the losses? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think sometimes we get in our head, right, and we think, well, we've lost all this, or we haven't lost this because we're still in this asset class, or we're not. The reality is, stay in what you're comfortable in. In this kind of situation, you should be investing in what you're comfortable in for maximum security. You're never going to feel secure investing in an asset class you don't know about. So it's not about jumping into something that you have no knowledge of. But I would say it's not a time to sit and watch everything continue to dwindle. Go ahead and pick a small portion of your holdings and move into another asset class that you know you can stay in for a while, because it might be a bit of a storm.
Super smart. Great tips as always. Thanks, Jarrett.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, everybody, stay tuned. We'll be right back with more from Liftoff. Welcome back. As business professionals in this modern climate, we have all heard of the power of pivoting. Some of us have even done it. And our next guest is an expert in the subject. Dr. Cheryl Robinson is an international speaker, a working model, and founder of Ready to Roar. She holds a doctorate in organizational leadership and is a Forbes contributor with 27, you heard that right, 27 Editor's Pick recognitions. If you're not following her, you should be. Dr. Robinson, welcome to Liftoff.
Jeannie, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm excited to have you on the show because I'm so obsessed with everything you talk about, especially when it comes to pivoting. But for those people watching that might not know what pivoting means, tell us, what does it mean to pivot?
All right, so what it means to pivot, there's 3 types. You have your professional pivot, the career, you have your personal, and you have your mindset pivot. But when it comes to professionally pivoting, that could mean changing industries, changing different companies, working your way up from assistant all the way to executive, or starting your own business.
I love it. Because I did that.
Yeah, you
many
did.
times. I've done it many times over my career.
You did.
So I'm not afraid. Everybody that knows me knows I'm not afraid to take a risk and to take a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people out there are afraid. They're afraid to pivot. They're afraid to put themselves out there. They're afraid of what could possibly go wrong. Tell everybody, how can they successfully pivot in their career?
All right. So the first thing is you have to believe in yourself and your vision. And as corny as that may seem, it is true, because when you have that self-confidence, then you are able to take that risk. And everyone's risk tolerance, they're at different levels, but in order to build that, set small manageable goals that you can achieve to help you build up that self-confidence. So that lays the foundation. So when you are really ready to pivot, you're able to skyrocket.
And you talked about that's pivoting your perspective. Right?
100%.
And that leads to pivoting your personal life or your professional life. Okay, so if you're challenged at work, in a relationship, or with your career, how do you start doing exactly what you said to build that confidence and pivot your perspective?
It could even mean that you wake up an hour early every day. And then once you get that done, then maybe it's, okay, let me go on LinkedIn. Who can I connect with that I'm afraid to reach out to? And you start with 1 connection, which leads to 2 connections. But those small, manageable goals build your self-confidence. But they're small because you know you can achieve them. And every time you achieve something, you expand it further and further until you are doing what you think is unimaginable.
And so it seems like you're taking the risk out of getting to a pivot, right?
100%.
And I think pivoting your perspective and removing the risk by
Yep.
just putting yourself out there is something that seems a lot less scary than trying to slowly expose yourselves to spiders if you have a fear of spiders.
Right.
So we'll stick to pivoting your
Yes.
perspective. But it is all about managing the risk, right? And I
It
know
is.
you've written a lot about just embracing risk is so important. Tell
Mhm.
us why.
If you don't take the risk, one, you will never know what you're capable of. And two, you wind up with that what if mentality when you're older. And I have interviewed over 600 individuals, 600. And what all of them have in common is they all thought the risk of not trying was greater than the risk of actually trying, because they wanted at the end of their life to know that they gave it their all and they weren't sitting back saying, well, if I did do this, what would happen? Or if I did do that. So the risk of not trying was greater than actually trying.
I love that. I think I'm going to start to use that when I'm thinking about things or explaining
Yeah.
things to people. Someone once told me, if you're not sure what decision to make, think you're on your deathbed and you're just going through your life and everything that you
Yeah.
did. Would you say, I wish I would have done this? And that's exactly what you're saying
Yeah,
too.
100%.
All right. So thank you so much for being on the show. This was, as always, incredible. And for those of you out there ready to take a risk or not ready to take a risk, it's time to take a risk. And don't go away, because we've got many more great guests coming up right after this break.
It's so sad. It's not. Here, put that on it. Put that on.
The business of beauty is often a subject we discuss here on Liftoff, and for over 25 years, Chaz Dean, celebrity hairstylist and category innovator, has influenced the entire beauty world to push beyond traditional conventions and philosophies. And with his patented line, When, he created a revolution around the way that people care for their hair. I use the products for the last few weeks. I am telling you, we are obsessed at my household with it. Chaz, welcome to Liftoff. So excited.
That's why
to
I
have
do
you.
what I do, for that reaction exactly.
Now, from what I understand, you were one of the first celebrity hairstylists. How exciting was that? Tell us about what that must have been like to be the first.
Well, it's funny because I remember thinking that in order to make a mark on the map, you kind of need that person. Because, like, who do you work on? Who do you do? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I kept waiting and waiting for it to happen. My first celebrity was Nicolette Sheridan. Thank God, because she's exuberant. She likes to share. So that was great for me.
And she
But
has
yeah, was my
incredible
first.
hair.
Yeah, she does. Well, yeah, she used to have bleached hair when I first, because you remember back in Knots Landing, I got her off the bleach and I got her off the shampoo. And it just, from there, it just spiraled.
What do you think differentiates your hair care line from others on the market outside of, I will tell you, and you've heard me this morning telling everybody in the studio, you have to smell this product. You wake up and you're tired and you take a shower and you're just ready to take on the world.
Yeah, it's the aromatherapy experience. But number one is it's the element of, when I tell people no more lather, like, then how am I going to get my hair clean? And I ask people, what is the reason you use shampoo? Like, to clean my hair. So I'm like, if you could clean it without stripping your oils, without stripping your scalp, without stripping your color, why would you not opt for that? It doesn't even make sense. You're not using shampoo to strengthen your hair, condition your hair, hydrate your hair, you're using it to clean it. So if I could eliminate that whole category, why would you not do that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for so many of us women, when we have a bad work experience, a bad personal experience, what's the first thing we do? We want to change our hair. We want our hair to look different because that sets our mood.
Yeah, as a stylist, you always know. I'm like, okay, what happened? They're like, I want to cut it off. I want to cut it. I'm like, wait, first of all, what happened? And are you sure? Have you thought this through?
Right.
So yeah, that is the norm. I just want to totally reinvent myself. I've got to start over. Yeah, that's the norm. You get used to that. But it's the way of doing it is, like I have girls, we just went to Holly Rod Foundation. I've been sponsoring Holly Robinson for the last 23 years. Miracle, a beautiful black girl. She started with us the day she came from the agency. She didn't have one defined curl. And I'll post it again so people can see the difference. She didn't have one defined curl. After one use, she had hydrated curls. We did a photo shoot with her after just 2 cleanses in her hair. That's what's in the brochure. It's gorgeous. And she's now 2 months into it. And people are like, can I just touch your hair? So it only takes, and as you know, that one time, but it just gets better and better. And that's why I do what I do, is to make people feel good and confident and feel beautiful again.
Thank you so much for being on the show and helping the world look beautiful and feel beautiful about ourselves.
Thank you.
I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it,
Thank
Chaz.
you. You have any
You're
questions,
incredible.
you know where to find me.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll be back with more beauty breakthrough information with our friend, intelligent beauty contributor FrancisTesmer. So stay with us. As champions of women here at Liftoff, we're so happy to welcome back FrancisTesmer, global entrepreneur, philanthropist, and intelligent beauty educator contributor. Francis, so great to see you.
Great to see you too.
So Francis, we're all about female women empowerment. What role does LEAD Rolf's Global Institute play in the future of women and the impact they have on the world?
Absolutely. Well, it starts with focusing on the 8 million women. Most of our beauty professionals are women around the world, and it's over 8 million. In fact, it's over 90% of beauticians around the world are women. And so our focus is to educate them to the next level so that they can play even a bigger, more impactful role in the world. And yes, through the platform of beauty. When a beauty professional is highly educated and can have a very intelligent, customized, modern, holistic approach to each and every one of us. And most of us go to a beauty house 48 times more than to a doctor or anywhere else. Imagine what that interaction do for everybody else. That's what I'm talking about. Empowering the beautician so they can have this level of interaction with us to inspire us, to empower us so we can go out in the world and be the best we can be, right?
I love it. You empower the beauty industry. We visit beauticians and other people in the industry. Then we feel inspired and empowered. We take that out and share it with our networks. And all of a sudden, exactly what you said, transformation.
Voila.
And there we go. Francis, we so appreciate the work that you're doing and the way that you are transforming the world, starting with beauty. Thanks so much for being on.
Thank you very much.
Everybody, stay tuned. We will be right back. Dr. Melissa Haish is a dually certified doctor of audiology and speech pathologist. She is director of New York Speech and Hearing, a New York City private practice that focuses on the diagnosis, prevention, and treatment of hearing loss and voice disorders. Welcome to the show, doctor.
Thank you for having me.
Dr. Haish, we spoke with William Shatner. Can you believe it? We actually talked to him a few weeks ago about hearing loss.
Mm-hmm.
And we know it can have such an impact on us personally, but also in the workplace. I was super surprised to learn from him that it could lead to dementia if you don't treat it and really pay attention to your hearing. So given these issues that people can have in the future with their hearing, it seems like it could also lead to potentially negative financial consequences. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that's it's sort of a snowball kind of effect. when you have a hearing loss, if you have challenges and you're in the workplace, think about the workplaces now and how they're set up. We don't really have offices anymore. The offices now are an open floor format with less cubicles and more just desks with small separations. So now the positive of that is you have better teamwork. The negative of that is that you're involved in everybody else's conversations and music and possibly distracted by other auditory information that's coming out in the air, and that's not a part of what your work is. And so if you have a hearing loss and that's competing with what you're trying to listen to, it can create a problem.
It probably impacts quality of life in so many other ways outside of these potential financial impacts. Tell me, like, where do you think hearing loss can impact somebody's life? All over, right?
All over. The truth is, one of the first signs of hearing loss is a breakdown in noisy situations. And how often are we in noisy situations? All the time, really, right? We go out to eat, we go out for brunch with our friends, dinners. And what happens is when that becomes problematic, we start to struggle in those environments. We start to increase the volume of our TV, of our phone, and then we start to back away from those events. We start rejecting invitations for brunch or dinner, or we don't want to go to that party. We stop going to the theater because it's too difficult, even with the headsets we get. And that creates a difficulty with our quality of life because we're not doing the things that we want so much to be doing.
What are the symptoms that come to mind that people should be on the lookout for with hearing loss?
Well, the first thing is the most challenging environments are when there's background noise and multiple speakers, sometimes both at the same time. So if you're starting to struggle in those environments, then you might have a hearing loss. If you feel like you need to increase the volume of your TV or your phone or some other devices, then you may have a hearing loss. But the truest sign of having a hearing loss or possibly having a hearing loss is your friends and family telling you, I think you're having trouble hearing. You keep asking me to repeat myself because we don't necessarily know that we're doing it. We just do it reflexively. They know better than we do. So if your friend or family members are telling you, I think you have a hearing loss, then that's something that needs to be evaluated.
And what should you do? Just call an audiologist?
Call an audiologist. Yeah, exactly. A hearing specialist, and go and get your hearing tested. That's the first step. Don't worry about how to treat it, any technology or exercises or medication. Don't worry about anything. Just get your hearing tested so that you can see where you're at. And that way you can make decisions moving forward.
Fascinating information. Or last question. If you turn the closed caption on when you're watching TV, is that a sign that hearing loss could be down the road?
You know, it could be. It could also be a sign that you need a better TV because and it's also a challenge with people with hearing losses. The current TVs, the flat screen TVs, have very challenging speaker systems to listen with. So if you have good normal hearing, it's fine. But even if you have the smallest type of challenge in your hearing, it could be difficult, and then you lean on your captions. So yes, it can be a sign, and it can also be a byproduct of the environment too.
Well, we turn the closed captions on all the time. I'm not sure if we're lazy or if there's something we should be on the lookout for, but this was great information, and I know everybody watching is going to love it. Dr. Phished, thanks so much for being on Liftoff.
Thank you so much for having me. This has really been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And for all of you watching at home, thanks for tuning in. Follow us on social for more tips, content, and behind the scenes. We'll see you next time. Bye.
The proceeding was sponsored by Liftoff Enterprises, LLC.